Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, mindset, exercise, and nutrition. We are three personal trainers and health coaches dedicated to providing information in these realms to promote critical thinking and assist you in your life practice. My name is Matt Gluckman, and as always with me are my co-hosts Eric Menchie. What's up, Eric?
What up? What up?
And Mike Urso.
Hey, guys.
You still with
yes,
us?
Yes, sir.
We like to explore topics related to mindset, exercise, and nutrition. We look into the psychology, the science, the behavior, and how it can shape your fitness lifestyle. So take a listen as we peel back the onion, fall down the rabbit hole. We hope we can help guide people along their journey as they continue to strengthen their body, mind, and spirit. And this week, we're doing another rant. So this is our December rant. Bum, bum, bum. So, hide your children.
Yeah.
Close your doors. Turn the volume down a little bit.
Yeah, earmuffs.
Yeah, it's been our first year of this podcast, and I'm ecstatic. I don't really have words. Like when we first were releasing them, when it was just Eric and I, we went from like, it was nice to see like, oh my gosh, 5 people listen to it. Like I didn't even post it anywhere, and then like, the next couple episodes is like 30 people posted, like downloaded this. What? And then it went to like 70. And I remember 70 being like our highest number for a couple weeks. And then, I'll completely give you credit, Mike. Once we introduced you, we like blew up. Started getting 100 to 200 downloads every episode. And we've crossed our 3,000 download milestone a couple months ago. And I'm just looking forward to where we can take this podcast and how we can keep helping our listeners maneuver through this crazy, confusing world out there.
Well, yeah, man, it gets better and better. And as we get, as you guys recall, we went how many episodes? Probably at least 20 plus episodes before we even started to interview people. And then the interviews have been just really cool to open up a whole different element of what the podcast can do and open up our audience to just, the different types of influential people in the health and fitness space out there. And so like Todd and Mike D'Angelo and Zach and Kara, like some really cool interviews where we get some perspective from people who are out there in the trenches doing it. We get the mindset, we get the strategies from movement. I mean, it's been fun, man. I mean, I just love talking about this stuff. It's cool to talk about it with you guys every week because you guys dig it. And, as the show continues to go on, I just see this getting, more and more informative and more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been a blast hearing kind of even people I've worked around, like Zach and Kara. And I knew these people were brilliant, but I never knew how to like tap into it, I guess, so to speak. And it's so great to hear their expertise, their knowledge, and their special skills essentially talked about in such a way. And it just makes me realize more and more that like there's almost value in interviewing every person in this world because someone has maybe a different perspective on something or a different outlook or a different experience that can help shape someone else's life and help lead them in the right direction.
Yeah, you can learn something from anyone. It's amazing. The more we get in 2019 is going to be bringing more people on board, and I'm looking forward to what I can bring and you guys can bring to the table with people.
If you could think of, you can have like 30 seconds or no more. If you could think of like 3 people that you would want on the show next year, where would you start? If you can only think of one name, that's
Jordan
fine.
Peterson, number 1 right there.
All right. Jordan Peterson is a genius, and I love hearing him talk. And for those listeners who like the Joe Rogan podcast, look up Jordan Peterson with Joe Rogan. It's so great. He's so educational and inspiring. He's a great person. Yeah, I saw that recently.
Didn't they just release another one?
Yeah, last week. Yeah,
and along with another David Goggins one, which I haven't listened to yet.
Well, I was going to say Goggins is mine, so I would like to talk to him. So he was just on the podcast. I watched that. That was really interesting to see him on Rogan for the second time. But my wife's reading his book right now, Can't Hurt Me, and she's loving it because the book. So she said, because I know a couple of my buddies from jiu-jitsu got the book, like the physical book, and they like it. But what you miss in the physical book, which my wife gets in the audiobook, is after every chapter.
That's
So
so
somebody
bad.
reads the book for Goggins, it's not Goggins, but then at the end of every chapter, they do a podcast episode where the reader of the book is now interviewing David Goggins about like the actual real life events that he talks about in the book. And so you get like, it's very vulgar, you get all the F bombs that Goggin drops, but she's like, it is just so captivating because, you guys have heard some of his stories before about some of the craziness that he's put himself through to mentally build, a callous mind, as he calls it. He goes into so much details, and you just, in the first chapter, when he talks about his childhood and how badly he was beaten, and just, I mean, it's just, you want to just close your eyes as you're reading this and listening to it, because it's just incredible what that man had gone through as a kid to like what he has become today, which is like this invincible human being, it seems like.
Yeah, no, he's a one of a kind human being for sure. And you make me want to go read that book like right now.
Well, listen to the podcast with Rogan, because there's this one part where he talks about he's at MIT, right? Smartest, like this, all these really smart professors, and they were, psychologists of like, the mind, and they had all this theory and all these things. And he's like, yeah, it's everybody has like a threshold of like how much they can endure. And Goggins is sitting up there the whole time, and he's real quiet. He wants to say something, but he doesn't want to speak out because he's not really a good speaker, as he says. And then finally he just breaks into the conversation. He's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I put myself through hell so many times. He's like, you have no clue what the mind's capable of. He's like, the mind can overcome anything. He's like, and I've proven it by the stuff that I've put myself through. The guy's just an amazing testament to, not leaving anything on the table. Like so many of us, and I feel that like this all the time, is I leave so much on the table sometimes. I don't fully exert myself.
Yeah.
I don't fully lay it all on the line. And he's one man that's going to leave this earth with zero regrets, guaranteed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a chapter in that Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind about that, about when you do something, do it like a bonfire. Like you're either fully encompassed in it or you're not a fire. So I don't know, that is interesting, but he does have absolutely one of the most hardened minds there is. It's pretty badass. Do you guys have any other names that come to your mind?
Podcasting guests. Oof. It's a tough one.
All right, I'll tell you one of mine would be Paul Chek for sure.
Ooh, oh, yeah, he's an interesting guy. Who's the other guy? Steve Maxwell. Steve Maxwell is old-time Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he's like a kettlebell expert. He's got to be like in his late 60s now, but he is absolutely shredded. He's kind of like a Paul Chek type of guy. Have you guys heard of Steve Maxwell?
No.
I haven't.
Yeah, look him up. Look him up. Really interesting guy.
Have you ever heard of Jack LaLanne?
Yeah. Pioneer.
He's the one who brought gyms to the world.
What about Arnold?
You'd interview Arnold? Okay, I'll throw it down.
Absolutely.
I just love how in Pumping Iron he's like, I'm gonna win Mr. Olympia, I'm gonna marry a Kennedy, and I'm gonna become a U.S. politician or governor, and he just crushed those goals. He did all three of those. They don't execute. Yep.
Well, but that's so many people talk and they don't actually take action on anything. All you have to do is take action on what you think and say you're going to do. That's the difference. Is people that take action get what they want. People who don't ever, they're left wondering.
And I think a lot of people, they're stuck in that phase, right? They're stuck in that like contemplative phase. They haven't decided to make the change yet, and they almost don't know how to. And they're like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. Like I'm gonna do it one day. Like, and for maybe it's a lack of knowing what to do or just innate laziness, but I just feel like they're like stuck in that phase of just talking about it and just like saying it.
Yeah. So many people. Well, think about, yeah. Do you ever, guys? I mean, you've done fitness consultations before, or like an assessment, and you get in there, and they're very like ambivalent, right? They don't know if they want to work out. They don't, but they also want to lose weight, but they don't want to give up the things that they have in their diet. And so there's like this back and forth, they're torn. So I always ask people, like, and this is when I was trying to sell personal training too. When I got heavy into sales, I was basically like, I'd say to people, well, it sounds like you're not really sure. Like, is this something you're committed to doing, to like achieving, or are you just interested in it? And when you say it to them like that, like when you ask them, like, are you interested or are you committed to doing this? It wakes them up where they have to think about it and be like, wow, well, when you put it that way, like, being interested isn't going to do anything for me, right? Being interested is this is like we talked about reading all the self-help books, but never actually doing anything, like taking any action on any of them. And more information is fantastic. You'll learn a lot, but until you actually go out and do something and try it and force yourself to do something you don't want to do, you don't really gain the necessary experience that it takes to make harder, better decisions down the road, like staying vigilant with the exercise program. It's hard. Like, do you guys find it easy? Like, I know it's part of your routine, but do you find it easy to like go and work out like as many days as a week as you do? Or are there days when you feel like you don't want to do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the time. All the time.
But you do it anyway. Yeah. Yeah. We all face that, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's going to be times where you push through it and you just say, no, I guess I got it. It's going to be hard. I got to fucking do it. And there's other times where you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do like body weight stuff or some shit. But,
yeah. But we've conditioned ourselves to push it.
right.
But you do something, where so many people are like, well, I'm just not going to do anything.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's almost like we've progressively evolved to be so like selfish and greedy, and like I think of it almost with food with clients. Sometimes it's like, I don't care if what I just told you to eat right now or after this workout is gonna taste good or not. Like, go fucking eat that shit. I don't want you eating bullshit. And it's like we want all our meals to be like what we want and our selection. I think it comes back to actually
Right.
bad parenting
Yeah.
tactics of being like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'm like, the kid's fucking 3 years old. You got to put the structure in that motherfucker's life. That's your job. Yeah.
You decide. Well, the thing with food too is people ask me like, oh, how do you not get bored? And I say, well, food is food to me. Food is energy. It's a source. I don't like. I mean, there's food I enjoy, but I don't like sit down and like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. This is gonna set my brain like dopamines off. It's like, no, I have to have this.
No, but everybody wants that. They're like, well, I don't like this. Doesn't taste good. I'm like, "Okay."
Right. It's like, no, this is gonna sustain you. You'll be fine.
Right. Well, why are we eating? Are we eating for pleasure and enjoyment? Or are we eating to like get healthier, sustain our bodies? Like, figure it out.
Like what you said earlier, like going back in time, like we didn't have a choice of what food is like. Hey, we have an option today. It was like, no, we're gonna eat this or we're gonna die. So it's like,
Right. Right. Could you imagine if like 300 years ago, 500 years ago, Yeah. Be like, you'd be lucky to have a fucking meal every day.
I know you're gonna be like either hunting for meat or foraging through the forest for some vegetation. Like it's so easy today.
Well, not 500 years ago. We had agriculture for like the last, what, 12, yeah, 1200, 12,000, is it? Or is it 1200? It's 12,000.
But I know that if you laid out human lifespan on a football field for the amount of times we've been on Earth, that the percentage of agriculture really is only 1 yard. Yeah, it's not even the full 1 yard line. But back to Mike's point about like people just saying and not doing, it's because it'll be like that, right? Like, oh, hey, did you end up going to that yoga class today? I'm like, no, I woke up a little later than expected, so I didn't make it. It's like, okay, well, did you fucking look at one at lunchtime, maybe in the evening? Like, what are you gonna do to make up for it? You got to get yoga in. You know, it's something you want to do,
Do something else.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like if it didn't fit into their life perfectly and happily, and they wanted the choice and they did it on their terms, people don't do it. People like, I guess it's the lack of discipline.
yeah.
Honestly, that's Menchie's favorite word, by the way.
I love discipline. My favorite. Well, think about the new year coming up and and how many times are you going to hear, oh, I'm going to start this then. Oh, I'm going to start this thou. Oh, this is my resolution. Like, why not start right now? Like, write it down on a piece of paper. And tomorrow when you wake up, look at the piece of paper and be like, what is one step that I need to accomplish whatever it is, one step, and then keep taking steps forward. I mean, it's tough for me to see that people like have all these wants and say they want to do this and that. And it's like, well, you're not even taking the right steps to do it. And then you give them the options to do it. And they're like, oh, well, that might be challenging. It's like, yeah, no crap.
Well, no shit, yeah. Like I love my manager is so like blunt, but he's a good relationship with all his clients. They've been training with him for like 15, 20 years. And a couple times you will hear when he does also group training too, and you'll hear a couple women who grab what the weight they were assigned essentially, and he does everything pretty uniform and pretty systematically. So he's not like trying to make somebody lift something they've never held before. But they're like, "Oh, this is heavy." He's like, "Yeah, it's called weight training. It's supposed to be heavy." It's just so funny. I loved it.
It's like, deal with it. Your body's going to figure out what to do with that heavy weight, no matter what.
They're afraid to be uncomfortable. They're afraid to be uncomfortable. They want to be comfortable. They want to be at 70 degrees all the time in their apartment. And
But they still want to say that they've done something or have done it. Like I was teaching class the other night, and I'm watching people work out, and what I gave them was like a tough workout. And I'm watching people who are working hard, and then I'm watching people who are just kind of, going through the motions and not sweating. So then we finished like 5 minutes early, and someone looked at me and I was like, no, we're done. And he's kind of like, that was it. And I was like, I wanted to be like, if you didn't get any benefit out of that 45 minutes, I don't know why you showed up. It's like, why come to the class if you're not going to put 100% to get a benefit from it, to get healthier, and just kind of go through the motions and wait till it's like, oh, it's 60 minutes. I did that class. I'm good for the day. It was just weird. So now I think people go in with this attitude is like, I could give you 30 minutes of work and it could be hell. It could be 30 minutes of burpees. Are you going to go in there and make something out of it? Or are you just going to go in there and go through the motions and do nothing? And I think that's what a lot of people do when they go to the gym. They go in to say they went there and they don't really get the best benefit out of it.
true, but rewind to that person real quick, because that person in that class showed up and they wanted to do things, and I think that's a different case, and that's a different animal. And that person, it's like the person who squats but can't find their glutes, or squats and can't find their core. It's like he doesn't know how to push himself to that level. He doesn't know how to get the most out of his workout. He doesn't know how to think of this muscle and get that mind muscle connection, the contraction and eccentric.
Yeah, or could you, get down on the ground and stretch for 10 minutes because you're 10 minutes late to yoga? Like, you don't have to go, but can you do something?
Not just to say that you did something, not just to get a gold star for the day. Right.
I I think that's one part of it, but I also think there's the part of it where maybe Eric's talking about is approaching the things that you do, especially your workouts, with some sort of intention. Meaning like you're showing up with a purpose to, complete something with, as Eric said, like the right amount. Yeah, not just to say like, oh, I went to the gym. Like, no, I'm sorry, but like you got to be there with some sort of intention. What are you trying to accomplish with this workout? And I'm not saying you need to plan a goal and say, my goal for this workout is this. Just what are you trying to do when you go to the gym? For me, I like to be intentional. I like to say I'm not going to like check any text messages. The only thing I'm picking up my phone for is to change music, and I don't even need to turn my phone on to do that. I can do it right off the lock screen. So that's really like if you can like disconnect from all the other distractions out there. And I think that's a big part of it too, is there's too many distractions. We have too much noise. We go to the gym and there's people watching us, or, how am I going to look? What if I'm not doing this right? What if I lift too heavy weight and it falls on my chest? Or, what if people think I look fat in these yoga pants? I feel like there's so much going on in people's heads sometimes that it makes it really hard to disconnect from all the noise because your guard's always up, and you have to let your guard down fully to just like, approach something like wholeheartedly, like with full force for a workout.
But Matt, I would agree with you. I would think that some people don't know how to push out of their comfort zone or even know where it is. And even let's take meditation. Most people can't sit still for 10 minutes straight nowadays. It's almost like this. It's like people have to be doing something or checking some social. sort of email, social media. It's like when you actually sit down and meditate for 10 minutes, you're literally doing nothing. Like, I think that might be hard for some people because I don't think it's built in that people are really like, can do that. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's sort of kind of like I've seen.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you're alluding to is people need to meditate more because they need to be better at being their individual self in the moment versus being influenced and being distracted. People, I think there's just different categories, and um, when you can show and slow things down for people when they get to those moments, it's going to be that much better, right? Because the whole idea is that we're with homeostasis, it's always going to be easier for body to just maintain itself. So we're always going to be constantly stretching the ceiling so that our general trend is growth, right? So when you can so essentially getting the body comfortable being uncomfortable. So when you can get somebody who hits that wall or who puts that weight down before they should have, or is holding their breath the whole time and then has to stop the exercise because they're exerted themselves, like coaching them in those individual moments goes such a long way towards their personal growth at understanding their own boundaries and pushing themselves, and because that comes from within. You can't always be there to be the guy that's yelling and screaming at your trainer, and quite frankly I've never wanted to be that type of trainer anyway. um,
No, I mean very very certain circumstances, but I think you're right on. Like coaching's not just to make someone's, yeah, we can get to the science aspect of it and like what it's going to do at the cellular level, but I think the way I use it is to realize that people actually have more potential than they actually think.
than they even think.
Yes, 100%. Like that's why I tell people, oh, people are like, why do you prescribe certain things for like 2 minutes? Because I want to see what you're going to do and how you're going to like basically figure out those 2 minutes and what your body's going to do to survive because it's not going to die. I don't think you're just going to drop dead. Uh, and it's like, well, they got to figure it out. And then they're going to push through and be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. That's not as bad as I thought it was. Or if it's bad, they're going to be like, okay, well, I've done it. I now have a new potential that I can surpass.
I think you're right. I think too many people sit back and don't really figure out where their limits are. Like they just like people don't know. We talked about Goggins at the beginning of this. I mean, obviously he's a master. Just take it from him on finding where your limits are. That just push yourself physically to do things that are extremely hard. But I think you know um, it's I don't even know where my train of thought was going there. But one of you guys take it away.
Like the body won't go where
I
the
love
mind
that
doesn't
quote.
push it. But more so to what you're saying, this quote comes to mind. It's by Lucius Seneca, and he says, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." And it's so fucking true, and and like it resonates with people. You say that to a client, and they're like, "Wow, yeah, it's so true." Like it's the imagination, it's the anticipation, it's the preconceived anxiety producing thoughts that are built up before you actually do something. And we are a very unique animal on this planet. We can think that higher level where we can actually change the way we think, and we've evolved in that manner. And maybe we've over evolved, and now we're at a phase where we are actually over analyzing before
But look at all
executing.
these high end athletes and these Goggins and these people who just like continuously to push past these imaginary
Well, they're the
boundaries.
outliers of
But I
the
think
of
there's
the
more
pack
people out
that
there than
that
we think,
helps
though.
strengthen
I
the
think
pack.
there's more people that haven't written books,
Oh,
but I
absolutely.
think we're starting to see a majority of people not pushing that imaginary like wall that's in front of them. And then there's these other people that other end of the spectrum. It's just like, hey, this guy is running through like every wall someone puts against him, like nothing's stopping him. What's the difference here? Where's the lapse in the neurological aspect of it? And I guess that's the question I don't know the answer to because that's a huge spectrum that
Yeah,
lies there.
I mean, yeah,
But it's like, going on? Is that part of the evolutionary period where like that evolutionary brain is like, man, it's not going to pass on, and people more like with that motivation will go forward? I don't know. I mean, from old time survival, I think you have a clear winner. But I think with today's society and how we can keep people alive for long periods of time, I think you're seeing that starting to like catch up with itself and be like, hey, this isn't optimal. You know, if you don't take care of this, this is going to have side effects, health issues.
Yeah. And I think that's where it lies, is that people, we develop things and we change things just for the good, and we never look for the bad in something, and when something's bad we never try to look for the good in it. We try to contrast things too much rather than live with duality. And I think the reason that it ends in a bad case scenario is because they're only ever gravitated towards the good things, and they never see um, kind of the value of hard work and dedication and discipline to then doing the things that we don't normally do anymore. Like if you're 9 to 5, if you went from, college classes, your first desk job out of college, and you've always been in that corporate life, then you really transitioned from moving around a lot, being active a lot, to being not active, to being seated for most of the day, to subjecting yourself to a lot of different stresses. And you have to then have that awareness to be like, well, you know what? Because I'm at this desktop, I need to make sure I work out first thing in the morning. I need to make sure that I prepare my lunches now for the morning. People don't think like that, and they don't adapt to set themselves up for success like that. People just live, and then when something bad happens, they take care of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, going back to like, finding out your limits, I think if you look at the analogy of when you go to the doctor, right, for a heart problem or something, one of the things they give you is a stress test. And I think that we all can benefit from doing more stress tests in life with things, meaning like pushing ourselves to the brink of where we may break a little bit, or where we at least bend a little bit and find out more about ourselves. I don't think you find out. So using jujitsu as an example, I've had two different tournaments over the last 3 weeks. And the first week I won, I was riding high. Everybody loves you, right? Because you win. You've got the gold medal. And so I didn't really learn anything. Like I learned that I didn't push myself as hard in the gym as I probably could have. But then the loss, the week, 2 weeks after, that was really where I faced a lot more adversity. Somebody who was much more skilled than me. It pushed me to a point where I had to, I had what I thought was a broken finger, which wasn't, that I continued playing with it for over 2 minutes. And my mind was like, what, should I say something to the ref? Like, should I just like quit? And I'm like, no, like push on. Like I've got 3 other limbs that I could try to hang on with. But like in that moment, like you feel like you want to give up because there's pain, there's, what's going to happen? Like what happens if I get my finger caught? Like, is it going to rip off? Like there's so many things going through your mind, yet you're in a war. So that's where you learn a lot more about yourself when you are facing that type of adversity, or that type of, forces that are trying to break you down, and in this case, potentially really physically hurt you, or, put you to sleep, choke you out, do something, break a joint that may really hurt. Like if you are not, paying attention and on point and trying to be present in that moment, it could be extremely, extremely detrimental to, your long-term health, or even short-term acute injury, more specifically. Like, so it's really important, man, to put yourself, whatever that is for you. For me, it's jujitsu. It's getting on the mat every day and having to fight for my life a couple times a week. That's a stress test for me, that it helps me figure out so much more of what I'm capable of, and how much I was leaving on the table, before that. And I mean, what is it for you guys? What do you guys do? What are some of the things that you do, or have done, like maybe like an event or something recently that has, stress test you, or something you did that was really physically hard?
Well, I'm doing Matt, are you still on Mass 2?
Man, every fucking workout, like today, I did. Yeah, but I've fucking adjusted it, man. Like, and I'm so dumb. Like today, I did mass 2, 6 second eccentric squat. Yeah,
But all right, but hold on though. Before you go into a workout you're doing, right? Like there's not a whole lot of forces against you. It's predictable, you know what the weights are. You just have to try to overcome them. I'm saying, what's something that you've really done? No, sure it is. Sure it is. I would like to hear the severity of your workout versus fighting for your life against something. So I remember an instance, didn't you just punch a dog that bit your dog? That probably had to be pretty scary moment. Yeah.
That was very primal. That was a very primal moment because I calculated and tried multiple different ways. I put my hand in the other dog's mouth, trying to peel its lip back. The owner is just crying, sitting there hysterical, not doing anything. There's two other guys.
And your adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah, two other guys that were there because I'm holding my dog, moving with this dog that's thrashing, so that the ear doesn't like get like off. And then again, we these two other guys were holding the dog. One guy splashed water in the dog's face. Another guy, um, so he actually stuck his finger in the dog's butt. That's what you're supposed to do with pit bulls at lockjaw. And this was a razor's edge pit that has that lockjaw capability. And none of that was working. And fucking, I remember just like sitting there, like, lady, get your fucking dog. And then she didn't do it. I see her. I remember her crying with her hands over her eyes, like screaming. And I was like, get the fuck off my dog. And then I just started wailing on this dog's head and it let go. Um, and I just picked my dog up. I run to the corner. The dog's running behind me, and I just didn't say anything because when I get in those instances, I try to shut down because I know that it could get a lot worse for the situation. What I mean, like mentally and physically, and my actions wouldn't really align with how they should be when I'm in a clear mind. So I just shut down. I don't say anything. Lady came over and she was like hysterical. I didn't even know what she said. I was just like, please just go, please just go. And then like I came down, caught my breath. Everyone else was kind of consoling me and be like, that dog was attacking other dogs the whole time. It was just a matter of time before it like went off. And I looked at my dog's neck and there's a big, huge gash coming down his neck. I was like, oh, we gotta get you to the vet, buddy. And I actually just took him home, cleaned his wounds because it didn't look that bad. And it was with any wound, as long as it's bleeding, it's technically draining. So I just got home and I disinfected his stuff and wrapped him in ace bandage wraps, and he looked hilarious. But then like 3 hours, so probably 3 hours from the fight, I'm like, man, my fucking hand hurts. And I look at my hand and there's like this big, huge, there's two structures sticking up through the, like not through the skin, but pushing the skin up. And I started pushing it and I was like, yeah, that's definitely broken. And I was just like putting it back into place. And it was funny, but I was definitely in fight or flight mode and the adrenaline's, I didn't feel it.
You must have slept like a rock.
Yeah, I don't remember how I slept that night. That's a good point. I don't know.
But like think about everything you just said there. That whole story, like that's a stressful incident. That's a lot of stress. Whether you like it or not, like that's hitting you a certain way. That's having a crazy effect on your body. Like you go and walk your dog every day, right? You don't think anything of it. There's no challenge to it. It's mindless. You go walk your dog, you do your thing. That's a day when you walk your dog and you see and you face something that you don't really ever face when you walk your dog normally. Like it stress tests you. And so now I guarantee you that when you're around other dogs or even other pit bulls with your dog, you're so much more cued in and aware. So that's what it does for you. Like you don't learn anything from walking your dog, but when something like that, when you face adversity when you're walking your dog, that's where you learn. And this is what I'm saying. This is every situation.
Yes. Yes. 100%. But so my point was that we've become too comfortable with the modern day society that we need to cognitively put these stressors in our pathway so that we can become mentally and physically and spiritually stronger. So it's like, yeah, when stuff arises, that obviously that's the obstacle. That's the way you got to get through it. But most people live a very non-confrontational, easy, simple, basic life. And I'm not knocking anybody, but I just think because society is so easy, though, we don't have those instances where a dog might attack you or a lion might be chasing you, or you stumble upon a village who doesn't speak the same language as you, and you need to like figure out a way to communicate so they don't fucking kill you. So we have to intentionally put these stresses in our life in a good manner so that we can become better.
And I don't think people do, because I mean, I don't. When that's a good question, because what I do is my biggest stressor is lifting, and I really haven't had a fight or flight moment like recently that I can really.
You never had fights in college in Boston? Okay, okay, okay.
No, recent. No, I've had fights. Like I've had fights, and like obviously running from the police and the law enforcement, all that stuff.
What?
Oh yeah. When a drinking party gets broken up, come on, man.
I can't picture Menchie running from the police though.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's like a pure adrenaline rush. It's like the flow state.
I've had to do it several times.
But what did you feel like? I was in pure flow state. It was like euphoria. It was like
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm like no one's catching me.
the, the high of the high. I was like, it was amazing. And I tell a lot of people, besides like playing football and sports, I really haven't got that feeling since. It's a lot. I mean, maybe I should start doing jujitsu or some of these things where it's like, if you don't move this person's going to beat you. And I think personally, I need more of that because I like that. That's like
Jiu-jitsu will harden you, man. It'll harden you.
it's scary, but like you come off of it, you're like, whoa,
Are you saying that you're getting too soft, Menchie?
maybe a little. I gotta up the ante a little bit. I'm gonna go out in the woods and find a bear or something, fight it.
Dude, I don't know about that. Menchie, you'd have the most badass workouts, and you'd just be eating them and chewing on them.
But no, what I get is a lot is from like hunting stuff. I get a huge like adrenaline rush, and it's very it's not like the fight or flight, but it's very primal of like, okay, I'm gonna hunt this animal down and take its life.
But it's also compassion at the same time, right?
Right. And that sends me through the same kind of roller coaster of like emotions and like high and low. I come off of like hunting an animal and I've killed it, and it's like hours later I am just like wiped out.
Well, you were so tapped into your like primal brain patterns at that point, and like deep instinctual thought processes and actions. Like I can see that being a really great high. Like hunting is huge out here, and Minchie, you should think about coming out here and hunting some elk. They're like 500-600 pounds. Um,
It's a lot of protein.
yeah, right. I might be even wrong with that. It might be actually a low amount because I thought buffalo were like weighted like a ton. Oh, and they're hunting them with bows too. Like my buddy, yeah. So a male can be anywhere from 700 pounds plus, and a female is typically about 500.
And that's what I do. It's like going back to like that. It's just a very like people ask me how do you do it. I'm just like it's animalistic. It's like it's barbaric, but if I know I have to kill something for food, like I can do it, and it's an interesting experience. That's what gives me like that like adrenaline rush and high.
And those are your learning moments, or like you learn something after every time you go out.
Oh yeah, always learning. You know,
Like it may not be like a huge adversity type event, like breaking a finger or breaking a hand, but it's enough.
like put it this way: the first time I shot my first deer, my heart rate must have been like 180, like pumping through my chest and just body shaking because your adrenaline is just there's just so much in my body. I didn't even like
And you're standing still as quietly as you can. That's the crazy part. That's all your mind. That is 100% your mind.
it's insane. And then you're still just dialed in. And you're like, you want this, and it was insane. And I've had that a couple times before my first one, where it's like I've missed or something, or I'm like, why is this happening? But it's just an ultimate, it's just like it's a snap of a finger, and you're just dialed in and on.
Very much something that I need to get into. I got my hunting license when I got out here, but I don't have a rifle. I don't even have a bow.
But I think some people don't even realize, like Mike said, those events aren't even like a runner's high doesn't even come close to that kind of event. a lifting high doesn't come close to that event. And I think people get small doses of them, but when it's a huge one like that, it almost makes you have a bigger reward system. Like it's bigger for Mike, for you to go out and have that fight or flight and win. And you're like, I want to do that again, but I want to win. Like I want to have that feeling and I want to surpass that. Where I think nowadays it's just so much like it's basically a dopamine drip, this whole social networking, social media thing where it's like small doses of it. And then when people really don't understand what it is to get a huge dose of it.
You know that, and it's so funny because that's part of the social somatic nervous system. It's crazy. It's fucking wild. Because I was just talking about it earlier today. Um, yeah, and they along with that too. There's so much studies out there and information nowadays too. Explain the benefits of even just being in nature and nature therapy and people who work out outside and the different health benefits they can get with that.
It's like look at a lot of the great writers. They left society, went out into nature, and they wrote these beautiful and motivational pieces of work that are now like read throughout most schools in the country. It's like maybe you take a lesson from them and be like, okay, do I need to like step outside society for a time being? I mean, you can't do it forever because we are social creatures, but like, do you take a step out and be like, okay, do I reassess? Do I go out and kind of view myself in the world and what that is? Now, that might be going out into nature, you know, but it also might be like stepping off of social media platforms for, 5 days and finding out what you want and who you are.
Not even just 5 days, just like go out if you haven't really understood like your why, or you don't feel like you've been challenging yourself enough, or you think that you can be better and you don't know how. Just like go take a Saturday, take a Sunday, leave your phone at home, go out somewhere and just explore. And I think that alone can be very rewarding. And not by all means there may maybe be that case in that scenario that people should just unplug for like a whole week or something. But I think there's just benefits of just going out and connecting with nature, just even just for a couple hours. Just try it. You got nothing to lose. That was me talking to our listeners, obviously not you guys. I know you guys. You're like, hey, shut up, Matt. I work out all the time.
No, what is that? What's that quote by Henry David Thoreau? Something like most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
He was great. Oh, I forget the
It's so true, so true.
Wait, say that one more time.
Most men, or the mass of men, lead lives of quiet desperation. If you look at like interview like a 80 or 90-year old who's gone through their entire life and ask them kind of what their regrets are, I guarantee you it's stuff that they never took a chance on. Just all the stuff that they wish they had done or wish they had did when they were earlier, and it's too late now. And I think that's so true about all of us. There's things that we all wish we could do, and we just make excuses for it, or I don't have the time or have the money. I have to wait 5 years till the time is perfect.
time. It keeps going. It keeps ticking. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's all the same. Eric, you get the same. Matt, you get the same. We all get the same. How do you spend it? That's the big question. How do you spend it?
Yeah, we all got the same last chapter. We all know what everyone's last page reads. How you gonna fill the pages in between? And then that's what I'm excited about talking about in January is seriously like the philosophy of life and death. Like why are we all of a sudden it's like been in the last maybe a couple 100 years, 500 years, whatever, 1,000 years that people really wanted and valued life based on how many years you made it. It's almost like a record that people are trying to get to. But it's like, I don't want to get to 100 if I'm fucking on life support or like basically hanging on to life by a thread. Like I want to be a healthy, happy individual my whole life and die young at a ripe old age. Sorry, I'm writing that down that quote too, though. It's just so damn good. It reminds me of there's a lot of great quotes by Tony Dungy. And in his book Quiet Strength, there's a lot of good stuff in there about um, just be not, quiet strength is the title of the book, and I don't want to give it away, but it goes right along with it. Well, we're coming on 45 minutes here. We did a pretty good job of ranting and actually staying on topic to a couple things, even though you guys have me here because I'm so good at diving into other things. But, let's see if there's any questions. Oh, did you guys ever hear that guy that I sent in that text message? The Stan Efferding and the vertical diet. Have you ever heard of the vertical diet?
Oh yes, vertical dieting.
What is it?
It's a way of eating that it's more protein. If I can remember, I don't have this stuff in front of me. It's a way of eating certain foods to pertain to like your goals. Because I've heard people use it before, and it's very straightforward.
Like it's just very much like you're gonna eat red meat or you're gonna eat.
It goes. So here it is. It's based on your performance. So what your performance goal is, that's how you're gonna diet. So if you're trying to improve like body mass, you have to eat a lot of carbs. If you're trying to lose weight, you have to not eat a lot of carbs and eat a lot of vegetables, fruits. It's very straightforward.
Sounds kind of cookie cutter.
It is, but he does a good job with it.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't see that working for every individual. I see a bell curve to that. I see people who it wouldn't fit for, but I do feel like he gets a good market. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean it's very straightforward, very simple. It's like just eating like steak and rice and vegetables and keeping it very, very like basically like me eating the same thing like every single day.
Oh yeah, I bet my diet has been way more boring than yours in the past month. White rice, eggs, chicken, avocado, banana, and olive oil. That's it. That's it.
Wow, look at you go!
Yeah, right. No, well, it's my personal one. It's
What is that? Autoimmune protocol?
yeah, I have the book actually. Um, but again, that's still a little broad. It's very narrowing the focus, but still a little broad. And I've narrowed it down to the food groups that I can eat to those. Like I literally have 40 pounds of rice, dry rice, in my apartment right now. Like, I just bought it on bulk, bought it in sale, and then I buy like 3 or 4 cartons of eggs every time I go to the grocery store, like once a week. Um, I go through a liter of olive oil every week.
Are you just drinking it like straight up with mixers and stuff, or
No, no, no. I pour it all over whatever I'm eating. If I'm having I actually cut out vegetables in the last couple weeks because it's just too much fiber for me, which is gonna just exacerbate things.
well, have you guys heard the? You guys must have heard the Jordan Peterson diet, right? With his daughter.
Yeah, his his daughter has amazing results with it.
It's insane. Just eating what's it, red meat alone.
Yeah, red meat, salt, and water.
Like I would not survive on that diet. That would not work for me.
But he was on Dr. Oz, and Dr. Oz was like amazed. And Mike, I think you told us about that podcast. And it's just like it worked for him. It cleared up a lot of his issues, and for his daughter, it worked immensely. So I tell people just because like he does it doesn't mean it's the healthiest, but it works for that individual, and you could get a lot of health benefits from that. So like every diet is can be beneficial. Like Matt, you could take out vegetables and be like, hey, this works for me because too much fiber screws me up. Where I could be like, hey, I could eat as many vegetables as I want and I'm fine. Like, when people like, oh, you have to eat vegetables, and Matt's like, well, no, I don't have to because then it sends me through a loop.
It just depends on every individual. Like if there's so many different cases. Like there's the people who have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's or diverticulitis. They typically will get more symptomatic with added vegetables because it's just more fiber and it's just gonna flush through your system a little bit. Um, you know, is there a period that maybe you should eat vegetables and let your body clean up whatever poor stuff is in your diet that's causing the inflammation in the first place? Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But then to really regain solid stools again, so you can get into remission or clinical remission, so to speak, you have to be eating. You can't just avoid food and let it heal on its own. It's not how it works. So you got to still be able to eat. And things like potatoes, rice, they act as a fiber because they're just a resisted starch. So the benefit of the resisted starch now is I want to get more time to absorb proteins and fats. So that's where I use my olive oil. I drench my rice in olive oil. I put like a full bowl full of rice, 4 eggs, and then just and half an avocado, and then just cover it, like paint it with olive oil, and it's great. It's delicious, and I'm full for a longer period of time. And for per one, was it 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carb is 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So I'm forcing my body to rely heavily more on fats for its fuel source.
All good stuff. I'll drink it straight up.
Really, it's so gross. It's so bitter.
I'll put some water with it. But to me, so for me, it's just calories. And I'm thinking, okay, how can I get calories? And I'll put some like turmeric in it and black pepper and stuff. But I'll just look at it as just calories straight down. I'm getting fats and it's very easy. Now, also, listeners, if you're losing weight, do not do that because I am trying to gain mass and gain size. So that is not a good idea if you're trying to lose weight. But if you want to do keto, by all means, fire away.
Don't say do keto. Don't say do keto.
I know you don't like that, Matt.
Well, I just don't like it phrased in that framework. It's like I just hear it all the time. I'm going keto for the rest of the year. I've been going keto for the last like 6 months.
The last like 6 hours. Come on now. Be real, people.
That's a topic for another day. Um, yeah. We always end with a quote of some sort, even though Mike, you already gave me mine. Most men and women lead lives of quiet desperation.
Thoreau, huh? You want another one from him? Really good. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined. I mean, this guy was just a thinker.
Oh man, Walden, that whole book, he just like sat out on Walden Pond and just wrote an entire book out there. Well, I think there's. Have you guys ever read the book "As a Man Thinketh" by James Allen?
Ooh, no, but I have it. I actually own it. I haven't read it.
It's excellent. So there's two quotes that I really like in there. One is a mindset one where he says, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." It's all about the mind, and like everything that we think is basically what it is, what we do. And this one I think is relative to a lot of our discussion today about challenging yourself. It says men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. It's true. It's true, man. A lot of us remain bound. People want to change, but they just don't want to.
But they want to change what's around them, and they don't realize that they need to change what's in them in order to change what's
They need to improve themselves. Exactly. You're 100% true.
I love that quote. That's great because it's so true. So many people come into a scenario and they forget that every time we enter an environment, we change that environment. And it's our responsibility to take note of that change and make it a morally sound change in any way, shape, or form, right? So people think they enter in a situation, right? Like you can even use the example of, I hear this often a lot through people that a girlfriend or incoming boyfriend of someone who has children from a previous marriage maybe comes in and tries to, before they observe, what they should do is kind of observe the scenario and see how they could maybe help if that's kind of what they're at in the relationship stage. But most people try to change the situation and they try to educate, they try to not manipulate, but maneuver and train these children or whatever in a way that would best suit for them. And it's just such a selfish thing to do. Like so many people again enter a situation and try to change the environment rather than changing themselves. All right, maybe I have one more quote. Give me 2 seconds. All right, here's two of them, and they're both from Marcus Aurelius. And he goes, "Nothing has such power to broaden the mind as the ability to investigate systematically and truly all that comes under thy observation in life."
That is a good one. There's one last quick one I remember. I don't know who said it, so I can't give credit to it, but it's something along the lines of the only way you can change someone else is by changing yourself, and it's that simple.
That's right. You are the vehicle. You are the most important. You are number one. You are the id. All right. Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. And we'll see you guys in 2019.